themselves white on the West Indian order of society. I was simply an impossible man to use openly the term Negro, yet everyone beneath its breath was calling the black man a nigger. I had to decide whether to please my friends and be one of the black whites of Jamaica and be reasonably prosperous, or come out openly and help improve and protect the integrity of the black millions and suffer. I decided to do the latter. There is no future for a people who deny their past. My foreparents, my grandparents, my mother and father did not suffer and die to give me an education to oppress, slight, or discourage my people. Whatsoever education I acquired out of their sacrifice of over 300 years, I shall use for the salvation of the 400 million Negroes of the world. And the day when I forsake my people, may God Almighty say there shall be no more life for you. I unequivocally rejected the racist assumptions of much white American Christianity, namely that God had created the black man inferior and that he had intended Negroes to be a servant class. He was of wood and drawers of water. I predicated my view of man and the doctrine of Imago Dei. All men regarded as were created in the image of God.
So many things that's held us down, but now it looks like things are finally coming around. I know we've got a long way to go, and where we'll end up, I don't know. But we won't let nothing hold us back. We're putting ourselves together, we're polishing up our act. If you've ever been held down before, I know you refuse to be held down anymore. Stand in your way. I won't try to listen to every word I say, every word I say. Ain't no stopping us now. We're rolling up.
Emerging from a cocoon into a caterpillar, from a caterpillar to a butterfly. The metamorphosis is here, it's live. Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, word, sound and power, music, drumming, current affairs, everything to grow and lift up your mind. Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, creating beauty and stimulating change from a constant supply of relevant knowledge and information.
No more youths and youths for sale. We get wise and don't decide to change their style. Bobby wrong, keep your empty promises and your crooked smile. Metamorphosis, come with your thoughts, change your way of thinking. Metamorphosis, the change begins with you.
Men of Tarsus, black men of Ethiopia, Timbuktu, Alexandria gave the light of civilization to this world. Ethiopia shall stretch forth our hands unto God, and princes shall come out of Egypt.
I, son of the Most High, Jah Rastafari.
Hail to everyone. Tonight's still in. Give thanks and praises. Metamorphosis on the radio, Styles FM. This is Osayimwese Osagboro, sitting in for Iman Black this hour. Give thanks to Iman Black for this opportunity to speak to the world, the World Wide Web, stylesfm.com. And as I said before, good evening to everyone. Tonight's still in. Let us go through and have a wonderful ISIS of edutainment, because as we said before, you know, entertain or we edutain. And that's so it go. So again, everyone in Portland, in St. Mary, in St. Thomas, and on the World Wide Web, give thanks. Osa, sitting in for Dr. Iman Black.
I, son of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. Our heart shall correspond and beat it in one harmony. Sounds from the burning spear.
Yeah, tonight's still in again. To all the ones in Portland who tune in regular. To all ones on the World Wide Web, this is your guest host for today, Osayimwese Osagboro. And you see my name? My name is an African name, and sometimes when I go on the road, people have difficulty because they say it unusual. But you know what? It comes from the Igbo people in Africa. IGBO, Igbo people. And it means there's only one God. And God made me whole. But we want to give you a general overview of the program tonight. The first segment we call Higher Word Sound. And that segment now, we're looking at philosophy, language, thought, and ideology. Tonight's thought, it is not what you are inside, but it is what that you do that counts. It is not what you are deep inside, it is what you do that counts. Because sometimes a man tell you, say, boy, you want me to have the intention if you do this, but it never happens. So we have to think about what we do with our lives. It's not what you are deep inside, it's what you are that counts. So we're going to do the word, sound, and power, and philosophy, language. You can transfer language to another man, but you can't transfer ideas and thoughts. Ideas and thoughts have to come from that man. You want to give him language. So within word, sound, and power, we're going to investigate now the power of the word. And even the idea of philosophy too. What is philosophy? White philosophy, black philosophy, Chinese philosophy. And as we said, the thought for this day that will permeate through the program is not what you are deep inside, it's what you do that counts. And in the second segment now, we're going to look at Africa in world affairs. Africa in world affairs. And today we're going to focus on Mali. We're going to focus on Mali. Why are we going to focus on Mali? In the news currently, you realize Mali is in a state of almost chaos. Some radicals are trying to overthrow the government. And we, when we're growing up, we were at a place named Timbuktu. And Timbuktu is always a place where we're associated with being far. Your mother tell you, I'll kick you from here to Timbuktu. It's like you'll kick you from too far, but Timbuktu is much, much more than that. It was a great city, and it had a great university. And when you look at that, what is it that has caused Mali to have descended into this state of chaos? And not only that, where is Mali coming from? And there's a part in even the Mali situation where some so-called Islamists, and I don't want to offend the Islamists them out there by saying so-called Islamist radicals are destroying some of the very artifacts that made Timbuktu and its university, because there was a university in Timbuktu named the Sankore University that made it a great center of learning. So we want to find out now what it is that these Islamists are destroying. Because they said that they have destroyed several mosques, and they said these mosques now are offensive to Islam. And so here is it now that within the religious philosophy of Islam, you have some Islamists are saying that the temple built by some Islamists are offending to Islam. So in every religion, there is always a discord. One person saying, my version is this, the other person saying, my. But Mali is important in African history. Mali gave to the world something called the Maghreb. The Maghreb now are centers of learning. And if we're going to focus a lot on Mali today and give you a general overview of how this nation was built, how Timbuktu came into being. And in so doing, we're going to look at the difference between civilization and culture. What is a culture? And what is civilization? Does culture give rise to civilization? Does civilization give rise to culture? What is black civilization? What is civilization? And there's another thing we have to think about. In the next section now, we're going to deconstruct myths and fables. And I want to give the listeners a little task. Some of you will just go to Google, but don't go to Google. Go to Google Scholar and type in myths and see what come up. You'd be surprised to see that they say Aesop fables come up. No, Aesop was a black man who was enslaved by the Greeks. We're going to talk about some myths and fables. We're going to look at, under myths and fables, deconstructing myths and fables now, the idea of white supremacy. How is it that we as black people are taught are taught in schools that, and some of us end up with the idea, that somehow white is right and white is might. And if you're black, step back. And if you're brown, stick around. And if you're black, wow, the white is always thing. Then we have drum talk, a section where we're going to talk about the power of rituals, the power of drumming. And today I was listening to BBC and they were talking about different things, Jack, about Kumina, Gere. And they were celebrating Jamaica's 50th anniversary on the BBC radio. And they mentioned some of these drum rituals that we have in Jamaica. So we're going to talk about some of these rituals in the 50th anniversary of this nation. And that's why it is important now for us to look at what is a civilization. Is Jamaica a civilization? Have we developed something that is unique? And you ask yourself that we have. We have given the world reggae music. We have given the world Rastafari. So we have begun a civilization because we are unique in many ways. Our language is unique in many ways. Our culture, part of all the things that we celebrate as uniquely Jamaican, we have given that to the world. And then in the final section, we're going to look at Rastafari and the diaspora. I know Rastafari shared the whole idea of looking at Africa as a place to be proud of, as a place to look at in terms of recentering black people. And one of the reasons why I want to look at civilization and culture, and I want to look at Mali, is because African culture has given the world so much, and yet people of African descent in the New World have learned so little. And you want to ask yourself, how is it that we call ourselves Africans in the New World and we don't learn? We don't even have an African language. We don't speak any word. So you see, when we start looking now at black civilization and we start looking at how Mali came into being, we're going to realize that when cultures clash, language change, dress change, food change, some language die, some new languages are born, some new ideas are born. When you're building a civilization, you have to build institutions, you have to build trade, you have to build diplomacy, you have to set up stable government, you have to provide a safe state for people to exist in. All these thoughts we have to investigate and give strength to. When we in drum talk, we have to talk about how rituals form and inform people. How is it that a man go to a place and stand up the whole night and listen music? How does that feed into his psyche? What kind of strength does that give him as a person, as a man, to just stand up at a place? What kind of strength it gives you to go to a ritual, drumming and dancing and sit down and listen to the drum sounds and evoke your ancestral spirits? So some of these are some of the things we're going to look at. And we're going to look at them in depth today. As I say, Mali is going to be a focus. And listeners, here what I want you to do. I want you to find a world map. And when you look at the world map, I want you to locate Mali. If you locate Mali, if you can find Nigeria, if you can find Niger, if you can find Ghana, if you can find Senegal, Cameroon, Mali is around that side. The Mali is central to West Africa in that region. A big, big country today. And was very, very influential in that region in spreading black civilization in that region. So these are some of the things. We're going to look at word, sound, and power, drum talk, Africa in world history, deconstruction of myths and fables, and the idea of white supremacy, and Rastafari in the diaspora. And just say before, when we talk about deconstruction, we're not talking about any tearing things down, we're talking about looking at things and questioning it. For example, when Aesop wrote his fables and he wrote about the fox and the grapes, what do you learn when you read about the fox and the grapes? These fables are supposed to tell you something. What do you learn when you read about the elephant and all those? What do you learn? Because Aesop was a man, Aesop was enslaved. I'll give you away something. I'll give you something that we're not going to talk about. So that makes sense to talk about it now. Aesop was enslaved, Jacob. And when Aesop was enslaved, his slave master said to him one day, eat some grapes. And Aesop eat the grapes. And when Aesop eat the grape, his face twist up. So the master said to him, what happened to Aesop? Don't you like it? Him said, they are so sweet, master. I enjoyed them so fully that my face was contorted with joy. But me and you don't know, say, I saw them so, them so. And so the master said to him, Aesop, you're such a wise man. And he freed him. And that is how Aesop now began to write his fables. Because this man was an author and a grier before he was captured and enslaved. And so that's how he was freed now, so that he could get to write his fables. So that today, thousands of years after Aesop lived, we still have those fables. Some of them read in school. And I would have loved some of the youths read some of those fables again, especially all the one about the little boy and who was crying wolf. A lot of you out there know say it's a black man write those fables in him named Aesop. He lived in ancient Greece when Greece was the center of European civilization. And that is a thought that we have to do. We have to deconstruct all of these myths and fables. We have to go to word, sound, and power. And I just say, I want everyone to remember the thought for the day. The thought for the day is, it's not what you are inside. It is what that you do that counts. You can have good thoughts. You can have good ideas buried deep inside your soul. You can have good intentions. But until you do something, the thoughts don't exist except in your head. So that's the thing we have to do as black people, as people of African descent, as any person, whether you're Indian too, or you're Chinese too, or you're out there. Because the people who go to the Olympics now can't conceive of the race in their head, you know. You have to go up on the track and execute it. You can't tell a man say you're faster than a Safa Powell or you're faster than a Usain Bolt, but because you're not trained. That don't make no sense. It's not what you are inside. It is what that you do that counts, my brother. And so we're going this with some more music and go down to the first section when we come forward after the introduction. So let's do it. Yeah, people in Portland, people in St. Mary, people in St. Thomas. I man used to live in St. Thomas. I man Black in St. Thomas with the football team. I man Black is the technical director and the head coach of St. Thomas Technical. I man Black, my brother. I hope your team them enjoying the tour around the island, you know. And hope the youth them are playing enough football in some very, very article way as only the eye can transmit to them. And people out there, make sure you know you do it and I say you know. Locate Mali. Go to your world map, or dig up a little atlas where you have in your geography class. When you go to school, the teacher tells you must get a little atlas, you know. So dig up a little atlas and locate Mali, and make sure you, when you start talking about Mali, you locate it. And Timbuktu was the name of the university. Remember that. Timbuktu was the name of a city. And the city had a university named the Sankore. Now, philosophy. What is philosophy? Philosophy comes from the Greek word named philos, which means love of knowledge. And philosophy wasn't the preserve of just the Europeans alone, you know, because the way philosophy is presented to us as black people, it seems as though white people alone had philosophy. Chinese people had philosophy. Asian people had philosophy. Europeans had philosophy. Black people had philosophy. Egyptians had philosophy. And people, remember that even though you see the configuration of Egypt today, when you look on the TV screen, you see people have all different colors. The first Egyptian pharaoh was a man named Narmer, and he was a black man. Nubians and Ethiopians built Egypt, and they had philosophy. Their philosophy was written in a book called the Book of the Coming Forth. Some people call it the Book of the Dead. But we know that philosophy permeates our life. Whenever you speak a fable, you're drawing on philosophy. Whenever you make any little analogy about life, you're drawing on philosophy. Even when I say to you, it is not what you are inside, it is what you do that counts. That's philosophical. If we question the existence of God and ask some searing questions like, who was there in the beginning to record the word in the beginning? Who was there to notice and to write down what was happening in the beginning? Was it God who was there that wrote down in the beginning God made man? Who was there to record it? That's philosophical. When you give somebody a piece of advice, when you can't catch Kwaku, you catch him short. That's philosophy. And so philosophy is not only the preserve of Europeans, because black people were thinking about how to configure and how to master nature. Long time. The Dogon people who saw Sirius A and Sirius B had philosophical perspective that let them research and question and founded and developed astrology. Long before Europeans had astrology. Long before the Europeans even had so-called civilization. So philosophical ideas are very, very important because they framework our existence and how we relate even to each other. Because sometimes when we are questioning each other, sometimes when you're bridging them, I carry down philosophy now to a different level. When you're bridging them, sit down upon the corner, I'm bridging them in a St. Thomas and St. Mary and even upon the World Wide Web. When you sit down and have any discussions, you know, and start talk, and start question politicians, and start question people in power, and start question every principalities and power, you're engaging in philosophical thought. Don't make them feel like, say, because you don't go to a tertiary institution, a university, and go study philosophy, that you don't engaging in philosophical thought. Because remember, I said the word, you know, it come from what? You must write it down, you know. It come from philos, P-H-I-L-O-S. And philos means what? Love of wisdom. So if you sit down now on your corners with the brethren, and you start question certain things, and you start want to find answers to how things function, you're engaging in philosophical thought. And people engage in philosophical thought give rise to what? Knowledge and power. And even greater knowledge and greater power. So whenever you write down your ideas, you write your poetry, you write your music, and you question things, because whenever you see you write music and people like our great musicians, Bob Andy, Bob Marley, Jimmy Cliff, Peter Tosh, and we can name a lot of them. If you read these ideas and you pack them up 100 years from now, it's great philosophical thought. Because people are question institutions and are question ideas and are put forward ideas. Rastafari has given the world a new philosophy. Rastafari has taken the quantum leap and created for the world a new religious philosophy. and I use the word pointedly and directly, a new religious philosophy. So when we talk about philosophy and metamorphosis, we're not talking about Aristotle and Plato and Socrates, and make it seem as those are the only philosophers. We're talking about people like Marcus Garvey. What a great philosopher Marcus Garvey was. Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Bob Marley. And we're bringing philosophy right down to everyone on the face of the earth who question ideas. And so we can recreate our own philosophical perspective, which we need in order for we to function good as men. So people out there, you must make sure that you take your time, write down the number 453-1444, and make sure that at a certain point you want to call and add to certain vibrations and give you your knowledge. The knowledge, because I, man, Black, we love to take words and deconstruct them, you know, and twist them apart. Give your knowledge to make sure, say, you add to the philosophical base. Because one of the things as Black people we have to learn to do, we have to learn to write and build literature. Because we're relocated, you know, so we never come with no literature, we never come with no philosophical thought to the extent where we have it as references. We have to recreate things. So one of the recreation now is to recreate our own philosophies. Write them down. Write down our ideas. I write daily. So we book full of notes in front of we write daily. So, and then we're going to make sure we chronicle and create our own philosophy. So we don't even want to counter white philosophy, so we can add to our own base. Because it's time for us to build ourselves as people and start believing and trusting ourselves and counter the negative philosophies like them tell you say a black man now is famous for his phallus, you know, or a black woman is famous for her genital areas. Like them confine us to that. Black people now, you see the Olympics. When you look for all certain race in the Olympics, if the 100-meter finals good are full of black man. 2 from America, 3 from Jamaica, 1 from Trinidad, 1 from Antigua, 1 from somewhere else. And it might feed into certain little ideas they have about black people as being people who are limited to only certain vibration. But we shouldn't do that. You know, we have to build our own base, we have to build our own philosophy, and we have to build our own vibrations as to exactly what we want, you know? So that's one of the ideas now, philosophy. Write down your own ideas. Question your ideas, question your own existence, I question my name, you know, and I tell people, say, listen, my name is not a funny name. My name is an African name. I don't have no Christian name anymore because I take away that. I don't have no SIR name anymore, any surname, because them take out the U, you know, and take out the I and put in a U, and you say SUR. But it's really SIR name that you had when you came out. So philosophically now, when you change your name, you're negating and deconstructing the idea that you were a chattel or a property of somebody. So philosophically, we want to defeat all them things there because, as I said before, and I'm going to say it 50 million times tonight, it is not what you are deep inside. It is what you do that counts. So don't tell yourself, say you're an African, and yet you're afraid to reclaim some part of your culture philosophically. So we want you to think about these things. And we want to put in 2 seconds out of our song for you to think about these things while we pause and liberate ourselves philosophically.
Taking place in our concept. And that's the concept of I. Then arose the Polyon, the devil, Satan, claiming that it's you and I. And from that day on, there is trouble. The world gone astray. From that day on, trouble. The world gone astray. We've got wars and rumors of war. Trouble in the world gone astray. Nations rising up against nations. The world gone astray. Mother against daughter. Father against son, little children having children. In this ya holy, it's the Armageddon taking place in iration. It's the Armageddon.
Yeah, tonight's still in. Osayimwese Osagboro sitting in for Dr. Iman Black this hour, and Shane Harris from Moortown, African in this time. One day me go talk about this idea of maroons, you know. Me have a problem with that. But anyway, Shane, pick up yourself and get everyone. And we're going to segue now into language. You see it? It just come convenient. Language. You see language now, language is rootedness, you know. Language is even so powerful that when you call it on a nationality. When you say Chinese, a man speak Chinese, you say Chinese person. A man speak Italian, you say an Italian man. A man speak Spanish, you say a Spanish man. Language is crucially very important because language roots somebody, and language is also used to transmit thought. One of the things the European colonizer did when them colonized anyone from anywhere is take away them language. Why them take away your language? Why did they take away your language? Ask yourself that out there. When you study history, when the colonizer colonize people and they must subjugate a people, them take away them language. When them take away them language, them take away them connection to them culture, to them practices, to them religion, to them music, to them art, to them self-expression. And what them try to do, them try to replace it now with another language. But here what them can't give to you. Them can't give to your thought processes. A man might take away your language, but when him take away your language and give you another language, him can't give to your thought processes that comes with his language. In other words, you can't start think like him. You might speak like him, but you can't think like him. And as soon as him still going to have problem with you, you still going to run and rebel. You still going to want freedom. You still going to want freedom of speech. And him going to say, but I gave you my culture. You're still a rebel. So you see language? It is so very, very important in connecting ones. Because if you go to China now, and even if you speak Chinese, you still not going to think like a Chinese person. All you're going to do is just speak the language. You still not going to have access to all of the thought processes and the ancestral connections that the Chinese have with their language. You might write it too as well, but you still not going to connect intrinsically with all of the thought processes and the syntax and the nuances of the language. Sometimes a man might speak another man's language and him tell you, say, when him hear you speak it and him communicate to them, say, oh, you're not a native speaker of my language. Because him hear, even in the so-called, the Jamaicans use that word in accent. But the accent is so delicate and so, very, very intimate. But language is much more than the speaking word. Language is connection. It is rootedness. So when a man take your language from you, him take away a whole heap of information. Because when the black man come into this world, my listeners outside in Portland, and the one them in St. Thomas and St. Mary and upon the World Wide Web all over the world, and Sean, who still are listening right now, when the man them take away language, even Sean as a maroon, I wonder if Sean can have a conversation in an African language. I doubt it. Even the ones them would them call maroon, maybe them know 1 and 2 words in, an African language, but we can't really sit down and have a conversation. None of we. None of us here in this diaspora area, that little Jewish term, diaspora area, we can't sit down and have a conversation really in a language that is African, because that has been taken away. So what we do, we created our own language. We created our language, and we created the thinking processes and all of the nuances that come with that particular language. Because a lot of people say, why, me in London already, Jacko, and me talk in our university. And when I say, good day, my name is Osagboro, I'd like to have access to the library. Lady say, where are you from? I said, Jamaica. She said, you don't sound like a Jamaican. And then right away I said, so what you want me to say? She said, yes, that's it. And I said, oh, you stereotype me. You want me to only talk a certain way. But that's how it is. Language is that powerful that people identify even you with the country from where you're coming. If we hear a Frenchman today and talk, we know say he's a Frenchman. But you see, the thing I want to suggest to people, is that language also brings information. Language informs art. Language informs literature. Language informs music. Language informs dance. Language informs poetry. Language informs every aspect of culture. So when a man now utter a word, our words cannot broke board and kill all tree and all them things. When a man utter a certain word, our word sound is power. We don't have that facility anymore. We have lost it. We don't have the facility anymore with language. We have lost it. We have created our own language, but what we have done is that we have taken new languages and recreated them, because whenever cultures clash and whenever somebody is subjugated by another colonial power, as we were, and we get a new kind of ethnocentric way of thinking. And the ethnocentric way we think nowadays is the European way of thinking. Some people, I even invent a word, we call it conquer-centric. Conquer from conqueror, and centric from the way in talk. My word that we invent, conquer-centric. We get conquer-centritized and we start talk like the conqueror. Some people even go on so far, them say them attack the Queen's English. Can you imagine? You a little man in Jamaica now, you attack the Queen's English. Me don't want to talk the Queen's English, Me I tell you that the truth. Me don't want to talk the Queen's English. But that's how it go. That's how far it reached, that a little man now has been colonized and repositioned and placed in us in another space. People out there, him attack the Queen's English. Some of our so-called intellectuals pride themselves in speaking the Queen's English, but them don't know that the Queen would probably scoff at them, because the Queen don't want to speak her English, because in her head, that's hers. You're just what them call a subject. A subject. And you see, these days, you see, some people still a hold on panel and all. Me go segue a hold on panel Privy Council and a hold on pan some vestiges of colonial power and a defender. You have some people that defend the English language like say it's the only language that exists. And if I talk anything inside of it, them say we talk bad English. If I don't know English language, or why if I talk bad English? What kind of thing you talk about? We know that. We don't know that. I want to give them a little thing, Jacob, because the next thing we're going to talk about now is thought. So I want to give them 2 minutes for second down and think about that. Language is power. And then we'll come to
of Lords and Savior, Lords of Lords and Savior, Lords of Lords and Savior, Lords of Lords and Savior. lords and Savior. Lords of lords and Savior. Lords of lords and Savior. Lords of lords and Savior. Omnipotent one, magnificent, super, magnificent one. Yes, he is Lords of Lords and Savior. Lords of Lords and Savior. Lords of Lords and Savior. Lords of Lords and Savior.
Yeah, we don't know say knowledge is not the power still, you know. Some people, we are fooled sometime into believing knowledge is power. Because you know what? As I said to my sister, whose knowledge empowers you? Whose knowledge empowers you? Because you see, you have bodies of knowledge. You have bodies of knowledge. If you live in the West, your knowledge is based on Western parameters. We are colonizing the West. And so whenever we seek knowledge, we have to go seek knowledge from all different kinds of ways. So we use language as power because language liberates us now to question things because we have created all kinds of different ways of knowing. And so we have to look at language and not just knowledge because you see knowledge come in blocks, you know. In a primary school, you have primary thing. In a secondary school, you have that. In a tertiary institution, there's a different level of knowledge now. And it's like as though they're kind of informing you in an incremental way. You know, so whose knowledge is power? Whose knowledge do we have? We have Western. I might know some of Western history. It's a shame. And I still try to know enough more African history. The more I search, is the more I find. So whose knowledge do I have? I have degrees in this and degrees in that. But it's Eurocentric knowledge, as I said before, you know. Conquer-centric knowledge. The conqueror's knowledge I have is his story. And I know. So we have, even this program, Metamorphosis now is a way of even retooling and re-edifying and edutaining and people into thinking in a different way. And so we're going into thought, the same way, thought and ideology. What informs our thinking? What is thought? I say thought? Thought is energy. Thought is energy, that is informed by careful deliberation. Thought. And when you think, you send out some serious psychic energy outside of your mind, outside into the cosmos, and then you are fed again with ideas that exist outside of the cosmos. Because Buddhist philosophers teaches that there's a body of thought that exists, and we have to learn to tap into those ideas, and those ideas give birth to something called ideology. And all of them things come from them universal, how thoughts are permeated, how ideology is brought into being. And what is an idea? Where does an idea come from? An idea comes from serious contemplation and serious silent meditation. You might be walking. One of the greatest ways I conceive ideas is by working. And sometimes it is a strange thing, Jacko. And people, I just call Jacko all the way, right? Jacko inside of me. It's a strange thing, Jacko. Sometimes I walk, or I dig up some ground, and I do some serious work. But you see why I'm doing that now? Me in a moment of such peace that certain thoughts just come in my head. Certain ideas just come in my head, and I have to stop. I'm going to get a piece of paper and write them down. So you see, ideas and thoughts are vibrations. What we trap into and tap into. And then these thoughts and ideas now become action. Because as I said before, it is not what you are deep inside. It is what you do that counts. And so we might think of a lot of things, but we don't manifest them. So your thought defines you in many ways if you manifest your ideas. Because thought and ideas are linked. And these are very kind of like psychological and sociological ideas that we have to look at And we mustn't be afraid of investigating different ideas that exist into how we configure ourselves. So thought is a process, and ideology is the end result of thought. You don't just come up with an ideology like that. An ideology is the end result of thought. And an ideology now has to be shared. Ones and ones have to share ideas to give birth to an ideology. Because an ideology is not something that sits down by itself, you know. It's something where people have to go engender, or bring it together, like communist ideology, Rastafari ideology, you know, capitalist ideology. Them things don't just happen with just one person. They have to be practiced by a community of people. And when the community of people now say, yeah, this sounds nice, it starts to be shared by a large body of people. And then you get the birth of an ideology that give rise to whole systems in our nation and help form a state. Capitalist ideology informed the Western world. They were practiced that from 1600s, from 1400. We'll go forward. 1400, because from the Europeans start come out of them place and start go conquer places. Even when them never name it, a capitalist ideology that. Globalization started in the 1400s. And then man, the idea was to pursue people and capture land and get resources and get goods and services to carry back to for them place to build up for them country. That's an ideology. What is the black man's ideology today? Is it to be competent only in sport? One of our former prime ministers say only 4 things we achieved in Jamaica. I don't remember all 4, but him say tourism, him say reggae music, him say athletics, and something else. So as one of the man them who give birth to ideology in Jamaica for the past 40 years, and the nation is 50 years old. His assessment of the nation is that the only thing we achieve athletics, greatest national athletics, in a music, in a tourism, and maybe ones and ones they can text the 4th one twice, man, and tell her. So in 50 years, only 4 things we achieve. So what happened to the ideology that we build as a nation, that people can look on Jamaica and say, yeah, Jamaica is progressive, not only in sports and music and tourism, but in economics and literature and art and good governance and trade. So we have to form new ideologies, and we have to start thinking in a more purposeful way. It is not what you are deep inside ones and ones. It is what that you do that finally counts. And so we want to tell us a philosophy, language, thought, and ideology. Word, sound, word, sound, and power. Peter Todd said word, sound is power. Word, sound is power. Language is power. So we are reconfiguring now. Them tell us knowledge is power. And I normally say knowledge is power, seek to know. But you say within myself, I know say language is power. Word, sound is power, my brother. And bring them in one more time and lick them back with some.
I'm like a step dangerous. I'm like a stepping razor. Don't you watch my size? Dangerous, dangerous. If you are bull bucker, nobody buck from me. If you are don't be.
Yeah. Metamorphosis coming live to you. Styles FM from Portland, beaming all over the world. And everyone, we love all the ones them have a been on the program, you know. And as I say, Osagboro sitting in for Iron Black, my brethren, who I do some work with the youth them, because, you know, so Iron Black is a football coach, specialist in this game. Them out on the road with them youth them, here Iron Black, here all the youth them, a St. Thomas Tech, because we know St. Thomas is a vital place, a place where leads some serious revolution. So I word sound and power, the idea of philosophy, someone who's love of knowledge, who quests, who seek ideas. Language is power, because without language you don't have no root. And then thought, the energy that flows from careful contemplation and ideology, the birth that is given to the thoughts, that it becomes institutions, that becomes, as I said before, Rasta ideology and Christian ideology and, you know, capitalist ideology and communist ideology, and these ideologies are normally written down and, you know, codified, and people read and follow these ideas that informs how they think. So that was word, sound, and power. The next segment, my people, is Africa and world history. Now, we want to look for Mali. We want to look for Mali. We want to look for Christianity. We want to look for Islam in a Mali. So, example, we could hear two sounds before we look for Africa and world history. Moragine. Moragine, master drummer, lyricist, singer. Yeah, we want to look at Mali. Because as I said before, I get I feel very kind of disheartened when I hear what happened in Mali. And when I check the history of Mali and its importance in a world history and in a black people's history. And to hear that people inside of Mali fighting and destroying some of the heritage, the academic and the intellectual heritage and the material culture, destroying the temples. And although I'm not a Muslim, I respect the idea that the brethren ancestry in Mali have built these temples, and they are thousands of years old. Only for some others now who are also Muslim, who are saying that these temples and these mosques are insulting to Islam, are destroying them in weeks. And these temples are World Heritage Sites by the UN. But we want to look at Mali from an historical perspective. How did Mali come into being? There's a text, and the text is called Timbuktu and the Songhai Empire. Timbuktu and the Songhai Empire. And it's by Ali Sadis Tahrir al-Sudan. And it is written from ancient times up to 1630. And it kind of catalogs a very, very concise history of Mali. And it's translated from Arabic to English. And it gives a detailed account of the Songhai, the rise of the Songhai Empire, the internal workings of the empire, its demise at the hands of Moroccan invaders, and the infusion of Islam into the culture, the work of Moroccan administrators. It also chronicles the emergence of the way that even the people in Mali, in Songhai at the time, began to evolve their own culture since they get rid of the Moroccan invaders. And after that, the emergence now of struggles between the Tuareg, the Bambara, and the Fulani. This book was translated by a man called John Tomrick in 1998. Now, I love to refer people to literature, you know, so that whatever I say, people can go out there and look for themselves and see what is said. Because this book, as I say, it gives us an idea and insight into the rise of the Songhai Empire. We give birth to the country called Mali eventually. Now, as I said before at the start of the program, I hope the one them locate Mali on the map. I hope the one them do that, because sometimes when you talk, you know, Dr. Ayman Black always just say, get out your pencil, get out your dictionary, get out your notebook, because this is edutainment. Get out your map now. You look at Atlas from primary school. Me still have my little word, you know. Up to the other day, me look on a globe, and I spin around the globe to locate Mali before me come, so I can see where Mali is. Now, the location, Mali is located right on the Niger Bend, the river there in the Savannah region. Originally, from as early as like 5,000 BC, the area is characterized by a little rain. The region is hot. The climate was very hot, little vegetation. A lot of lions and hyenas and elephants used to roam the area. And the area also gave rise to a dangerous fly called the tsetse fly. The tsetse fly now was dangerous to cattle. And so the people in the area who used to be cattle herders had to face the dangerous onslaught of the tsetse fly. So we skip. Over time now, the river became a source of life for the populations in the area. And other populations start to come in to the area because of the presence of the river. Now, you know, it says water. Water is life. And so they were responding to something called desiccation, which is really an area becoming a desert. They were responding to some desiccation now in the area of the Sahara. And after 5,000 BC, and we're going to skip again because we can't give you everything in a chronological way, but follow us anyway. By 5,000 BC and then by 2,000 BC, the area now began to be urbanized. People start moving now into the area to start to follow the river, because as I said, the river comes with silt, and the silt gives fertility to the land, and it starts to become an area where people start to live. The area developed, and by 1200 AD, the town of Jeune, now I don't know if I pronounced that right, it's French. Some people say Jeune, so we say Jeune, we don't know, became the dominant power in the area by 1200 AD. So the area started as very barren, very, very, you know, but the river gave life, and people followed the river. And from as early as 5,000 BC up until 250 BC, the area began to be urbanized, and then the first dominant town was called Jeune. Now, you know that once an area developed, even in this modern day and age, it attracts more people, because people are going to see that they can come there and pursue maybe a little what you call economic prosperity. So over time, now, the population developed into 3 distinct categories according to their economic base. So according to what kind of activity a man become efficient in, them develop an economic base as well as them ecological area where them inhabit. So if you're along the desert, people became pastoral nomads. If they're along the river, they start to hunt and practice agriculture. And those people that are on some other parts of the land, they became involved in trade. And some other people became fishermen. And some people became expert in transporting. So the population now start take shape. Civilization start take shape now, you know. Some people start becoming, as I said before, according to an ecological. And we don't want to use, whenever we're using a word out there, you know, people, and you hear it, you must write it down, you know. Ecological. You must write down that. And because no word not too big. I'm is a teacher in a school, and sometimes I use some words, you know, and look at you, they must say, sir, kind of big word that you use, like, you say, no, man, you're in school, man, you're in a classroom. So you see, because this is an edutainment where we're engaged, man. If you hear anything, you write it down and make sure you overstand it. Make sure you overstand it. I will need the understanding. Make sure you overstand it so you can conquer it. So the populations now develop. The pastoral population, some people became nomads. Now, when people become nomads, you know, people, they not just wander around aimlessly, you know. They have a lot of assets. A man would have 200 cows. Now, can you imagine a man even in Jamaica today have 200 cows? You have a lot of assets on your hands. But in those days, the population moved from one area to the next to feed the cows, and they traded, and the nomads developed their own lifestyle, and they existed. They never subsist. They never subsist. They never starve and are dead. They never subsist. They existed. Some people were hunters, and some people were agricultural pastoralists who developed large populations. Other people became involved in trade. Now, over time, and we're skipping time, over time, now other ethnic groups come into the area. The Sangara, the Berber, the Batua, the Hassania, the Fulani, the Masufa, the Sangha, and then the Tuareg. Let me call them name again. The Sanghara, the Berber, the Batua, the Hassania, the Musafa, the Fulani, and the Tuareg. So you see, out of the desert, when the place was very hostile, the population is developing. The first town of Jean was developed, and it attracted people. It attracted different professions to start develop. And then now, because the area is so big, and look at the map, people start come up from present-day Ghana. People start come up, and I say present-day because at that time, it never named Ghana people. Had different names. It's Europeans at a conference in Berlin decided to chop up Africa and make countries out of different areas, right? So out of present-day Niger and present-day Nigeria and present-day Ghana and all those areas around, the people started to go towards Mali, present-day Mali, because in that time, as I said before, the first original successful town was called what? Jeanne. And people started to gather toward these people. Now, a lot of trading took place with all these other areas around the town. And after a while now, they start to build a society. They start to build a state that start to take care of people's trading, take care of people's welfare. They start to provide shelter for people. They start to provide stable rulership for people. And a nation state start to develop. Now, the first empire now that rose in that era was the Mende Empire. And this was founded in the mid-13th century and lasted until the 16th century. And so the Mende Empire was the first empire that rose up in this era today. That's called Mali. And people started to gather towards this empire. Now, it lasted from the 13th century to the 16th century, but you know how these things go. After a while, it started to be reduced. By the 1600 now, the Songhai started to exert greater influence in this era and start to, a lot of conflict started to develop and groups start intermingling and the culture start to change and Songhai became the dominant language in the era, and then this language was spoken by many groups. Now you see originally I tell us a language is power. You see, going back to that again, language. So the Songhai language now became the most important language. Language is so important that there are many times, for example, let me segue into something else. In South America, among the Maya Empire, there was no one group called Maya, you know. The Maya was the language. There was no one group. There was a grouping of people. We use the word tribe because that's what they gave us. A tribe of people, nation of people, start to go on a conquest and conquer the other people around them and build the Maya Empire. And what a lot of the peoples who became a part of the empire started to adopt the language of the dominant group in the area. And most of the people started to speak the Mayan language. And it became known as the Mayan Empire. Same thing with Songhai. You heard about the Songhai Empire, but Songhai was also the language that was spoken by these people. And the other groups in the area adopted the language. Now you need to study the different genealogy of the period, because in these empires, you know, it gave rise to the word they use is dynasties. And these dynasties ruled for like years upon years, because in this text, you will see a lot of genealogy. What the text name again? You remember, people? You remember what the text name? I'm going to tell you the name of the text again. The text name Timbuktu and Songhai Empire from Antiquities. I just said from Antiquities because it's from 5000 BC to the 1600s, because that was the height of the empire at that time. Right. So you see, in the text, you can see different genealogies, and genealogies now mean father to son, and people are come down and rule, and different kings, and it give rise to different dynasties. So Egypt wasn't the only place in Africa that had dynastic rule. The Songhai Empire also had dynastic rules, and there were different leaders. Now, one of the great leaders now of the Songhai Empire at that time, and a great leader now, because by that time we're skipping a lot of time periods, a city, a great city called Timbuktu came into being. And one of the first great leaders was a man called Sonny Ali. Now, I don't know if people out there remember one time Budweiser used to have some posters with some great kings of Africa. And on one of the posters, I have the series. You know, you go to high school and you learn for the first time, say Africa have kings. When I was a little youth, you know, Jaco, and me all 15, 16, I never know say black people have king. I never know them things there, because my high school when me I go, a Shakespeare, me I read about all well, and me become expert in English literature. I know everything about European culture. So the first time me see them poster, you know, with all these African kings on it, and me I say, wait, black people have king? I true this? And so me say Sonny Ali on one of those posters, and so Sonny Ali was the first great leader now of this empire, and his city was Timbuktu, and he ruled for a long time. His city ranged from Gao to Jean, and his rule was considered very harsh. He was considered to be a very harsh ruler, and he ruled for a while. And he was, after his death, his son Asika Muhammad, no, his son Sonny Baru took over, but Sonny Baru now was overthrown by Asika Muhammad, and he expanded the Songhai Empire. So, what do we have? From living in the desert to moving onto following the river, the different people coming into the area. And I'm making this sound very palatable to the ones them so they can't overstand it, because the item have to go learn to read and research to, you know. Right? Because we want to encourage the one them to go read and research and get some knowledge about these things, right? So Sonny Ali started, was the first one of the most greatest leader. And then when Sonny Ali's rule ended, his son Sonny Baru came, but Asika Muhammad now, who claimed to be part of the family of rulers, because he never just come out to anywhere, and he was there and he came to be a part of the rulers too, and he defeated Sonny Baru, but he expanded. He expanded the Songhai Empire, and he, it was said, was responsible for bringing now a sense of greater scholarship into this empire. And so at this time now, the Almoravids, a group of people, the Almoravids, were some of those people who brought scholarship into Timbuktu and started to build the great learning center called the Sankore. And we'll give you some sounds now for your digest. All of it we just sell it a while, because enough things, you know. Enough things we have to suggest. So we'll give you some sounds and you digest this, and we'll come and we look forward now to the infusion of Islam into this empire and its impact on black civilization. So listen to this. Yeah. So you see, in this section now, Africa, we want to go Africa and world history. It's very, very crucial, you know, because as I said before now, at this point now, the Sankore Mosque became a great learning center. And a lot of people now start to come to this learning center. It's like even today, how enough people love go Europe. You know, from all over the world, you know, and those Jamaicans alone that go Europe. Sometimes some man run some risk, you know, higher. Them jump in a boat, you know, Jacko, and then you see them come from somewhere in the North Africa, and them try to go Europe, and boat turn over, and enough man sink and dead. So it's the same thing now that was happening in Mali, in Timbuktu, where a lot of people were going into the area now to follow the learning that was being set up by the Almoravids. And you know what? They set up something called the madrasa. Madrasa today in Islamic study, in the Islamic world, are colleges that people go to learn the word of Islam. And a lot of people used to go on pilgrimages to visit these madrasas. And the disciples of these colleges had to learn astronomy and Arabic and rhetoric and logic and aesthetic mysticism. These subjects, I wonder if these subjects still exist. Rhetoric. Maybe when you do your PhD, you go study some rhetoric, but surely, and when you do your first degree, you do little logic, and then you have to do astronomy, and then you have to, at those times, you have to do Arabic and something called aesthetic mysticism. So, Timbuktu became a very important learning center. And Africa, because at that time, if you look at the map, at that time, you and I know that a lot of Europeans never started to invade the area. So these Africans were given the world, albeit the Muslim world, they were giving them the madrasas. People were going on pilgrimages to go to these places to learn. And Timbuktu became, through the Sankore University, a center of learning. And up until today, there are many scripts that are still left, because one of the things that the UN is worried about is the fact that the destruction of these scripts that some of them are 2,000-3,000 years old, very, very important to the heritage of the world. And this is what as Africa has given to the world in Timbuktu. And there are some teachers and scholars who had their own libraries. They had their own libraries. They arrested, for example, a teacher called Hamad Baba. He was arrested in 1593 for what they call insurgency. He had a volume of 1,600, he had a library of 1,600 volumes. Now, those days, we're not talking about like 1,600 books. It was more than that, 1,600 volumes of work. And he said that that was small. And that was his personal, call it library. And so he was set up there to help people to learn all these things. And so Timbuktu became a center of learning through its Sankore school. Now, the Muslims now, at that time in the era, the Muslims were the powerful religious philosophy that was permeating through this tone, this center of learning. And so Muslims, Islam became a very important tool for colonization, for learning in West Africa. So much so that many West African states, up until today, are battling with a division between Christianity and Islam. Christianity and Islam. Nigeria is battling with that. And so many African countries have embraced these two almost diametrically opposed religious philosophies, Christianity and Islam. And now, because of militant Islamization, these philosophies are clashing even inside Africa. It started in Europe, it started in Africa too from 1,000 years ago, and it's still clashing now more, and it is eating at the fabric of these societies, because when people clash along religious lines, it's a very, very important thing. But we want to talk some more about this. We want to talk about culture and civilization. There's a lot to talk about. What is black civilization? What is culture? But before we talk about it, we want to give you some little thing to think about. Think about all we said about the development of Timbuktu into a great civilization from just when it was in the desert, when it was very harsh to survive, when it was very, very hard. African blood is flowing through an I vein, and I will never go. So you have many great civilizations, you know. What is a civilization? What is a culture? When it's a Jamaican culture, what are you talking about? Food? Music? Dance? Is that Jamaican culture? Or are you talking about the government? Are you talking about schools? Are you talking about security systems like social security? Are you talking about how people's infrastructural needs are taken care of, road and water and electricity? What is the difference between that and culture? There's a distinctive difference between culture and civilization. And they're entwined in a way, because in a particular civilization, culture informs many different things, because cultural norms can become laws. If it's a cultural norm in your country to do certain things to people who perpetuate crimes, they can become laws. But then again, when there are many different cultural groups in your country, how do you then framework laws to fit all the different cultural groups? So civilization now has to look at other things other than cultural practices, which some of them are familial meaning that certain cultural practices are passed on in your family. When you go to school, certain cultural practices are not passed on. They're passed on in your family, because what is passed on in school is the curriculum. And most time the curriculum is normally driven by academic parameters, not necessarily by cultural practices in the family. So the black civilization now, when it was developing, had to, like in the case of Mali now, in the case of Mali now, these schools that developed started to teach the philosophy that the leaders wanted to be taught. But they also had to develop ways of engendering trade. How would they trade? They couldn't trade only on religious lines, because they weren't trading only with just Islamic states. They couldn't build their different infrastructure system just for Islamic people, because not only Muslims live in these cities. So a civilization now has to answer all of these questions. How do we provide for the people's need for education, for health, for transportation, for building institutions? Like the modern civilizations have much, much more. And so there are certain laws now that have to be passed. For example, if you have a government in a civilization, in say, let's say Jamaica, let's narrow it down to Jamaica now with its 14 parishes, with the differences of the 14 parishes and all the people. We have to have one water supply system for the whole island. Whether the water supply is going to be provided by different companies, 4 or 5 companies, it has to be consistent. There has to be a common policy, for example, about how to treat the water and how to make certain basic standards. There has to be a common policy about the provision of schooling, about what that is. And so you have a certain directorate from even the political sense. You have a man called the Minister of Education who provides these policies. So civilization now has to answer these broader questions. You know, questions like broader narratives. I want to call them all meta-narratives now. Education, transportation, health, social security, and even security for the state, like an army and police force. Those things now have a cut cross cultural lines. In certain countries, I hear, for example, in Israel, right now, certain people were exempt from the army. The Hasidic ultra-Orthodox Jews were exempt from the army. And some people are saying, no, why them exempt? Why aren't they being, because in Israel, they have conscription, you have to join the army, but these people are exempt. So the people are saying, no, they shouldn't be exempt. So you see, the state now has to go ratify certain laws and pass certain stipulation that will make it now necessary for these people to go against them cultural practice and join the army and help build the state stroke civilization. Because over time, we talk about civilization. The Egyptian civilization, the Mayan civilization, the Aztec civilization. So civilization is where a large body of people now come together to build structures and systems that will take care of the need of his citizens. It's broader than where I'm talking, but you see, because we don't have the whole day to speak, we have to learn to bring it down to certain terms that people can understand. So that's what we have to do now. How does race and ethnicity fit into this notion of building a civilization? What do you give the most important thing? Which one do you give precedence to? Do you say race is more important? Do you say ethnicity is more important? Do you say people's cultural practices should inform the state and that the laws must be built along the lines of one dominant cultural group? If that were so, then you'd start marginalize some groups. You see, it's a very serious problem when you're building a civilization. And the black civilization now in Africa, the different civilizations that has to be built in Africa, have to question all of these things, especially in Mali now. Look what's happening in Mali now. How are they going to unify the state when there are certain religious groupings in the state whose cultural practices are trying to dictate to the whole state that this is the behavior? Because the particular cultural practices of a body of people that want to destroy these mosques. And not everybody in the country want the mosques to be destroyed. And it's causing discord and it's causing a lot of war. all over the place. And it happens all over Europe too. In Yugoslavia, it happened. It happened all over the place where ethnic groups, once they start, it happened in Rwanda with the Hutu and the Tutsi, where one group started to descend on the other group in the name of trying to build their country and state. So it's a serious question that we have to think about. How do we engender building a civilization with so many different ethnic groups inside the civilization? And as I said before, it is very, very hard to tell an ethnic group that they must not be the dominant ethnic group, but we have to do it. But we're going to leave that for now because you know it go already. We're going to talk enough more about Mali because the next time we're going to look at Mali, we have to go look at its emergence now from out of the 1600s where we stopped into where it became what it is today. So the next section you know is myths and fables about white supremacy.
Very superstitious writings on the wall. Very superstitious letters about to fall. 13-month-old baby broke the looking glass. 7 years of bed.
Stevie Wonder. I say I don't know which one is where the seventh other one, but I say it's the eighth wonder of the musical world. I don't know which one of the first, second, and so one. But what is deconstruction? Because sometimes we hear these words and we have to, nothing that is learned remain learned, you know. If I know something, if I don't spread it to another one, it now go perpetuate itself. Because as I said before, you know, knowledge is spread by even people from family structures. Our family civilizations, our family societies, no. Families are not societies. Societies are much, much more orthogonal things than that. But anyway, we're going to deal with some. You remember earlier we did a talk about Aesop, the man who writes some allegories. Aesop never write no myths, you know. Aesop writes some little allegories that were used to teach people things. One of them is the sour grapes. And earlier we was talking about how Aesop began to, how him gaining freedom, you know, like in a crafty way when him so-called master give him the sour grapes to eat and him eat it and show him face twist up first. But after a while him eat it and the man see him and ask him how is it and him tell the man say them sweet and nice. But Aesop them it's so sour. But that was the moment when Aesop gained this so-called freedom and started to write these fables. He has written maybe about 100 and odd fables, and they're all listed. For those of you who, before I came on here, I was looking at them. Many, many fables that are credited to Aesop, that were written by him. And so the fables are used as allegories to read and teach people how to behave and how not to behave in certain situations. And we're not going to go through them. They either must do some research and find out about these fables. But then the myths now are the most important one, the myth. And today we're going to deal with the myth of the supremacy of white supremacy. The myth of white supremacy. Where did this idea come from? That one people were called the Occidents, you know, Occidents. The Europeans even have names for themselves. You know, Occidents are European, and then you have the Asiatics or Asian, right? And then we don't know what them call the Africans. We don't know what name have they given to Africans. They have groupings where them put themselves in Occidents and Orientals. Orientals are people of Asia, Indians and Chinese. Them call them Orientals. And them call themselves Occidentals. Africans know them now the categorization for them. Them call them others. They refer to Africans as others. And make a give a little history now. You'd have a brother named Robert Knox. Brother named Knox, Scottish man, who was one of the first men who wrote that people of non-Anglo-Saxon speaking people are inferior. No, I want serious thing this, Non-Anglo-Saxon speaking people. It means that whether them people that did black, white, Chinese or whatever, once them never speak one of the Anglo-Saxon languages at the time, because the Anglo-Saxon language at the time wasn't necessarily the dominant English. It was probably Celtic or Celtic or one of those languages, because it was in the 1300s that English was invented. So by the 1400s, now English became the dominant Anglo-Saxon language, And this man, this scientist named Knox, was one of the first men who started to put forward the idea that people who never speak Anglo-Saxon language were inferior. Some people take it and run with it till it reaches some point where one of the so-called great philosophers of European history would look at black people and say, are these men? Where is their science? Where are the great men of learning? Where is their art? Where is their culture? And the man started questioning the fact or the idea that black people had art, science, and culture. After me just don't tell about where Mali do and where Mali invent, and the fact that Mali introduced the madrasas, and that there are thousands of scripts written by black people. How come this European man who probably had never been to Africa, question the existence of African philosophy, the existence of African art? And so Europeans in the 15th century started to develop ideas that they had art, and they call it high art, and they were the ones who had high culture, and they were the ones who had superior literature, and their enlightenment, their age of enlightenment. Out of their age of enlightenment came this mythology that the white man was superior to everyone else, whether he was Oriental, whether he was Africanus, because after a while they started calling the man from Africa Africanus, whether he was Africanus, and then worst of all, no, them say the black man now, his skin corrupted. The darkness of his skin was as a result of corruption. And them start develop mythology about the inferiority of the black man. At first, them use the Bible. Them try use, scriptural ways, biblical ways to rationalize inferiority of black people. The Shem, Ham, and Japhet story. And then the next thing them do is them turn to scientific method, which Knox pioneered, talking about people the size of them head and all kind of, sometimes I never want to think about it, all kind of things that were not even plausible in the first place. And so this myth about the inferiority of the black man became an essential part of European philosophy. So much so that it informed laws that were passed in England, in present day, certainly in the 90s up until the 1960s, in America, all over the world. There were certain places you went to. Even in Jamaica when I was a youth, when I was growing up. I remember leaving high school one day. High school break. The youth, them in fifth form now experiencing this. After fifth form, you're kind of in limbo, kind of know what you have to do if you go sixth form. So you go look holiday job, And I go to a bank. And I couldn't get the job because, tellers in those days were only brown people. and like a black man like me. One work in a bank, couldn't get it. Because the idea was that we were not competent enough. And so it permeated, this idea of white superiority has permeated the life of black people so much that it become institutionalized. White supremacy, institutionalized racism. People in a Portland and St. Thomas, pan Styles FM, a beam live on the internet to all over the world, and the people in a Portland and St. Thomas and St. Mary, and in America, in New York, in England, in Russia and Serbia, and all over the globe. Listen, the black people are no more superior than white people. The white people are no more superior than black people. The Chinese people, everybody have their own intrinsic value. And everybody have their own intrinsic worth upon the famous structure of the earth. Man invent all his own language, independent of another man. So how come one man more superior and one man more inferior? You know? And so we have to destroy this mythology about the superiority of the Europeans over Africans. Because, you know what? There's a book called Black Athena. Black Athena. There's another book called the Asiatic Roots of Europeans, the African Roots of European Civilization. There are many texts. There's a book called They Came Before Columbus by Evan Sertima. There are many texts. There's a lot of research that has been done by many eminent scholars, both black and white, that dispel the myth that the black man has made no contribution to humanity in terms of science and art and culture and all those things before enslavement. Because that's the thing, you know. Enslavement now seems to have been the point where the black man history began to people who were educated in the Western world. That's why I said to my sister earlier, you know, it's not, knowledge alone is not power. Because you have to know things. When I was growing up, as I said before, I never know the black people had kings. At 15, 16 years old, how me I gonna know that when nobody never educated me that way then? I was ignorant of that until we go see the poster set by Budweiser and look upon the picture of some black kings. And that opened up now me to start go research now and find out. And then worse now, we're going to start read our writers, African writers series. We never have known that black people used to write books. When me go to high school in fifth form, me never know that black people write books of literature that could be read in school and studied. Till someone introduced it to me and we start read African, we have the African writers series. We never have known that Africans could write books. That's how ignorant I was at that time. At 15 years old. Now, I hope the youth them not at 15 years old, not so ignorant. Because them have all access to internet and other places to go to. So people out there in our styles land, we want debunked, we want demystify the notion of the superiority of the Europeans over the others. Because as you say, the Europeans call themselves Occidentals. Then they have the other one they call Orientals. But they don't have anything that they group black people into. I suppose they call them the others. And they other them by, you know, perpetuating certain myths about the black man. Like the size of his phallus as his measure. Like some black men are falling into that myth too, you know. That the only thing that they're worthy of is flashing them phallus. And having enough baby mother. And I'm proud of that. And then the Europeans will say, see, that's the measure of the black man. See, that's the measure of the black man.
Only men can sing this word. We step in It's a ghetto people song, only them can sing
Yeah, now, what is the role of education now? Does education help in demystifying the notion that of white supremacy? Because when I went to school, you know, and you had the Ku Klux Klan and those groups, has education helped? Has education helped today in allowing the young man of today to not feel that he's inferior because his skin is darker? Because if that were so, how is it that so many people are engaging in lightening them skin? Not only in Jamaica too, you know, because people outside of Jamaica do it. People in America do it. Indians on the subcontinent who are dark skinned do it. What is it about our system of education worldwide that has said to people of color, people who are not white, that they must try to be white? The cable television, third world people with trying to live in a so-called first world mentality. The cable vision and the attraction that many people have for commercial America. Because America is not a reality TV show. Enough people watch reality TV show and want to live them life like that. What is it that our education system in Jamaica can do to demystify the idea, to deconstruct the notion of inferiority that many black people have of themselves? There are so many black people who have an inferior complex, who believe that they are worth nothing. What are they learning in school? What are teachers teaching children in school up until this day that has allowed them to feel that they're inferior? Or, the greater question, can schools alone do it? Can schools alone do it? Is everyone have to do it? And so it goes back again to, you know, what does a civilization provide? Who, and these are the most important questions, who decides the ethic and the philosophies that are to be taught to people? That's a serious thing, you know. Because if you don't have a brainstorming where enough people of all the different groups come together and agree to disagree, they must agree to disagree on certain things so that them can help to diffuse certain things. So that until our people in this place do them thing there, them thing they not gonna stop. But you know what? It's getting down to a certain time. Maybe we can get a little one vibes, a little one notion from someone at this time, you know, and hear what them have to say. Styles Land, FM Land, Portland, St. Mary, St. Thomas, all kind of people out there in a cyberspace. No one is superior to the next one. No one. The white man is not superior to the black man. The black man is not superior to the white man. The Chinaman is not superior to the black man. People have to work. People have to do them research. People have to develop civilizations and societies. People have to build those things so that them can get rid of the idea of those ideas, right? And make sure, say, we diffuse them. So the black man is no more inferior because time has shown us. We looked at, today we were looking at Mali and we saw it developed. And we have all different ways of looking at history to see that there are great people, great black people that are, you know, wonderfully geared. So I saw it figure still. Time.
Sun is shining, the weather is sweet. Make you wanna move your dancing feet. Work to the rescue.
Yeah, tonight's Osayimwese Osagboro sitting in for Dr. Iman Black. Iman Black, you out there still? Or you have the youth them sit down on the computer, watch, and I listen to. People in a Portland, give thanks for the opportunity to talk to the I them. It's my first time doing this program by myself, you know. But then again, you know what? It's not even I alone there, so. I will feel Iman Black present same way. You know, because we live in the spiritual realm, you know. I want the ones them know that we live in the spiritual realm. So I am here, but I am not alone. Because my brethren's strength there with me. So Styles FM 5453 1444. The one them can send some text message in the man and tell us how you feel. When you're here, what have you learned? We don't want even know. We want to hear what you learn. Tell us what you have learned today. Did you find Mali on the map? Did you locate Mali on the map? Have you looked up Aesop fables to see what is it that he wrote about? He wrote many, many fables, not about us, the sour grape alone. That's the most prominent one. He wrote about many, many other fables, and they're called allegories. They're not mythologies, right? Because people have to have myth. You have creation myth, a bit about how the world is created, a bit about how gods are created, a bit about how Jesus was born. Like, you see people, when some people hear that, they might say, boy, what do you mean by a myth about Jesus was born? Like God did go take away Joseph's wife and give her a son named Jesus, and she have a son with God, you know? So it is a myth too as well about that. So send us some text. It was a vibration about what you have learned so far today, about the idea that language is power. Language is power. When a man takes away your language, it's like him kick away land from under your feet and leave you rudderless. I remember our old Gaviat brethren, his last name is Sopraya, who said him look at it, him say land and gauge. So when a man take away your language, him take away your land, and him take away your gauge, and him leave you rudderless. It's a serious thing, because me personally, me can't learn African language. And I call myself an African. Me, I have an African name. I can't even speak Igbo. I don't even know a sentence in Igbo. I would have to go look. And I should even be saying Igbo either. I should be saying Igbo. I would have to go look and do some research in order to even say one line in an African language. But you know what? Since culture has been so bastardized and diffused, culture is not something that's static. It's always changing. And culture is always dependent on the dominant group and what that group does to the people that it subjugates, dominates. And there are some people, like I use Maya again. When the Maya had a way, when they conquered the people, you know what they did? They give them land, they give them housing, they give them clothing, and you know what they required of them? People, that they speak their what? Language. They required of them that they speak their language. So now, if you come into a man's place and him give you a piece of land, him give you a house, him give you some clothes, him give you a security, and him say, speak my language. A lot of people seeing themselves in a position of subjugation, just them capitulate, you know, and them go speak the people's language. And it gives rise to a broad power base, because you have agreed to speak this language. Black people were forced now. Never have a choice. Matter of fact, them never even given a language. Them just take our one and just left way. Just take you and just left you. Black people never have to go invent language, because black people couldn't go to school. And so you never had no institutions to go to learn the language of your so-called masters. You had to create your own. So much so that afterwards, the masters themselves never even understand what these people were saying. You know, so that one day them tell us, where did them learn today, so far, as we go into our next section. Our next section now called Drum Talk. And so we segue into our next section. Let's hear some. Yeah. Jackie me too. Rastland in Florida. Hail up I. Hail and I from Jamaica. To the world. Alicia in a Bellevue. Kino Sefielio. Kino from Ginger. And places Sefielio. Hail up all the ones in the whole world, you know? We want to hear them talk. Isis. Isis. Breathe in. Breathe in. Yeah, my brethren just called and I tell me, say, yo, I want serious thing when a man take away a language, you know. May I tell you, I want serious thing. What a life we are living in Babylon. Nothing to gain. What a life we are living in Babylon. Nothing to gain. Enough praying. Oppression there, the West a gloat. And if I'm but. Internet generation bring down government. Computer scene, telephone. What a life we are living in Babylon. Nothing to gain, enough pain. Sea of bodies, forest of arms, prayers from acolytes opposed in peacetime, united in war. What a life we are living in Babylon. Nothing to gain, enough pain. Oppression upon the continent, still we are crying. We are grabbing a pan, a fight in the sky. What a life we are living in Babylon. Isis. Hello.
But them can't kill the Rasta man at all. Them can't kill the Rasta man at all. That's the strangest man I've seen. That's because he's a Rasta man. Having the mark of a Nazarene. That's because he's a Rasta man. He carries a prophetical message. That's because he's a Rasta man. Warning out of time and out of age. That's because he's a Rasta man. The Rasta come from Zion, Rasta man a lion. Drink. Rasta come from Zion, Rasta man a lion. Him Irie, Rasta man. Remember Jeremiah children. He was a Rasta man. Or even Isaiah. He was a Rasta man. Moses in the pit of mud.
What a life we are living in Babylon. Nothing to gain. And still, Africa, Arab world, Muslim democracy, not Western dictated, much revisited and feared by the free world. Now look, how we are going to respond to the revolution. It was televised and recorded. And that was not funded by no European, and it has spread like right fire. Oppressor turn color and a run. What a life we are living in Babylon. Nothing to gain, enough pain. Come, you would have run. or you would have set fire if you were the one in the fire. What a life we are live in a Babylon. Nothing to gain, enough pain. What a life we are live in a Babylon. Nothing to gain, enough pain. I now want them to think a little about even them kind of what them call performance poetry there in this time. This is drum talk. And as a drummer, I know the power of sound. I know the power of sound because sometimes when you go out and you play the drums, it carry people in something called mayal, spirit possession. And you see, here we normally ask people, we normally talk about the Christian in a church getting a spirit. Them just preach and everybody get in a spirit and start speaking in tongues. Yet if a man go there and you say a kumina and a one get in a spirit, you say it's evil. You say it's evil. And the kumina man get in a spirit and him, all him do is dance and speak in tongues too. They say it's evil. But you see drums now, let me tell you a little story. There was a queen. Her name was Marimba. Her name was Marimba. And she had her own nation of people. And Marimba would go away into some places sometime. Let's call it far into the deep recesses of the woods. And when Marimba re-emerged, Marimba would have a musical instrument. Was playing a musical instrument. Marimba was known as the creator in African cosmology. We'll give that word there. In African cosmology, Marimba was known as the creator of instruments. But one of the time now some Europeans come and them fight against Marimba, you know, try to overthrow our nation. But then again, you have one little brother inside of the nation who would grudge Marimba and him betray Marimba to the European. And the Europeans overthrow the nation. And one of the Europeans say to the little traitor who helped them to overthrow Marimba, what does he require? You know? And him say want Marimba to be his wife. Marimba said, well, you can have me to be your wife, but you will never have my soul. And while he was there, married to this woman, forced her to marry him, she went into herself and she created the drum. There's a book called Indaba, My Children. And the third book I'm telling about tonight, you know. There's a book called Indaba, My Children. And this book having it, the story about Marimba, the creator of instruments. And one of the instruments that she created was the drum. Now the drum is a very important instrument in the rituals of people of African descent. I personally play a drum, play all kind of drums, djembe, congo, repeater, kagan, all kind of drums, different drums from Africa where I learn about outside of school. When me go to school, you never have enough drum in a school. When me go to high school, me never see a drum. Me go to high school for years and me never see a drum playing in high school yet. When me leave school now, me go back up on drum and start learn to play drum. And find myself in a different world. Find myself a play in a certain rituals where people get in a spirit and bring dances and bring messages from our ancestors. Come give it as drummer. For example, in a kumina. Now, enough ones now we're attached to them Christian church. We spoke about Christianity earlier. Them don't want anything about African religious form. Kumina is not no devil worship or no evil thing. Obia, I'm going to say it on the word and enough people are going to say, where must I say? Obia is not no wicked thing. Kumina and Obia is not no wicked thing. If that were so, enough people that dead already. Enough people that get killed already. Enough people that go Obia man and kill half enough people already. You know, these things are original religion that was brought here by our African ancestors, but because the language was taken away from the people, because the language was taken away, the medium of communication was taken away. But the people, you know what they did? Creatively, they hid all of the religion, most of them, behind the mask of Christianity. The people in Haiti, for example, realized that in the Vodun religion, a lot of the deities that they had, they could hide them behind the saints of the Catholic religion. A lot of them. So when the Europeans would go into, like, they would hear the drumming going on, and they would go to the, the sanctuary of the Africans, and he would see them singing. But he would see the saints of Europe painted on the wall. And he'd feel that they were praying to the saints. But all they were doing was masking. There was a word where academics call syncretize. But them say them syncretize and fuse the two of them together. And the same thing with Kumina too. When you go Kumina, you will see the people that sing songs where it sounds like it come from the Bible, and they must sing hymns, and next thing you know, after a while you hear some Kumina songs and go to chop off and drummer play. So they had to find a way to hide these rituals now behind the religion that was given to them, with the language that was given to them. And so drumming now became an instrument of subterfuge and masking the way people relate to each other. Up until 1838, the drum was banned in Jamaica. Only didn't know that. Only didn't know, say, up until 1838, them banned drum in Jamaica. It was illegal. I tell you, it was illegal. You can imagine, it is illegal for a man. That's why nowadays you have a resurgence of drumming, because after a while, people never want to play it, because it's like it was a sentence. I go up a UA one day, about 3-4 weeks ago, to give a talk to a class and say a youth have locks and ask him to play the drum. And him say, no. And I said to myself, you can imagine how this look, that a man have locks on him head, and me ask him to play a drum, and he refused. And then the opposite happened now. A little youth who say he's a Christian youth, or Catholic church. Him say, I'll play. And him play the drum. And the one with the locks on him head, all him want to do a play on him phone. He never want to play no drum. So it's a far way we have to come now to even re-educate people into the importance of the drum as a tool, as a medium of communication. Because as a drummer myself, who have been drumming for like maybe 30 years now, and who teach many youth, I see the joy that the youth today feel when they can play the drum and express themselves. So, drum sound, more sound from drum sound.
Battering down sentence, fighting against conviction, battering down sentence, fighting against conviction. I find myself growing in an environment where finding food is just as hard as paying the rent, in treading these roads of trial and tribulation. I've seen where some have died in desperation to keep battering down sentence, fighting against conviction, battering down sentence, fighting against conviction. In a family of 10 and raised in the ghetto, hustling's the education, I know, can't grow no crops in this concrete jungle. A situation like this
Yeah, Mr. Wheeler,
is getting
battering down sentence, you know. And at the same thing, where I said like a while when them used to arrest people for play drum, battering down sentence, and them still not really understanding the importance of drums as a way of communication among people. And drum talk, not only talk about drums, because we talk about just even the resonance of a sound, even in a music. And as Jack was sharing with me a little while, there is so much history that is cataloged in our music. Because our music is a way where reggae music internationally is known as a medium of social commentary. Man and man talk about issues through music. And there was a time when certain freedom struggles are going anywhere in the earth, and reggae music was the music of choice. When I was a youth, I go to high school, reggae music enlightened me about apartheid. When me in a Ford Farmer High School, me learn about apartheid because of reggae music. Me hear some man a sing about this thing in apartheid, and me I say, what the man a sing about? What this thing is about? And me go research and find out what it's about, and me become an anti-apartheid activist. I have enough Jamaican musicians where sing about apartheid, so much so that one of the first countries Nelson Mandela come when him come out of jail, him come to Jamaica. They have Jamaica, the flag of Jamaica's colors in the flag of South Africa. And enough people don't know say our music, which in itself is a way of sound, which is drums, you know, and making people power. Word sound as power, language as power, and you know, gathering people. So we have many different drum groups and drum-based religious philosophies in Jamaica. Kumina, Obia, Gere. You have Brockins Party, you have Maroon drumming, you have all kinds of ways. And you know what, people? One day we're going to bring some drum to the studio and make the man them see how them look. And make them see the different ways. Or you can just go on the internet. Nowadays you can invite people in a style FM land. Go up on the internet and type in DJEMBE. And you will see what that look like. And type in Kagan, Kagan, and you see what that look like. And type in other names of other drums where you know about and you hear about. Balafon and all of those drums. And you will see what them look like. And read about the rituals of drums. In some cultures in Africa, for example, you say when I say Kagan, Kagan is the name of a rhythm. Kagan, party, kaka, papa. And it is played when people are getting married. Drum rituals are played when babies are born. Drum rituals are played when someone is being buried. Drum rituals are played when a crop is being harvested. And people start, I don't know if Jamaicans remember them have something with them called a work song, Jacko, like you work and man a sing song to give you vibes when you work. And there's a drummer who play and give the rhythm. And so people out there who don't know any drum rhythm, this a Portland and enough drummers used to come here. Bull, where you there? There's a big drummer outside there. Enough drummers come from Portland. We know Dominion players used to come from this. We don't know where the man did anymore. Yeah, and the man there are some serious drummer. And we know the man there outside, and St. Thomas have enough drummers too. And yeah, enough drummers all over Jamaica. So one bigger part of the drummers them, bigger part of the people them in Portland and St. Mary and St. Thomas who are drummers who are listening out there. Big up Man Black. You still up Man Black, we know see you stay up, you know, at 2-3 o'clock before you even decide to retire as a man who love the night hours. And people, we give thanks for this opportunity to talk to the world, because it's not just Jamaica alone. So the sister named Joy call and say, I put that me come from, you know. And she make me know that. So we are heal up Joy, we are heal up Shane, we are heal up Alicia, we are heal up Rasla, we are heal up Kino, who must heal up Alicia. We are heal up all of the people them who listening still and stay up every night, every Friday for the past couple of months. One sister say she rush in and turn our computer because she know the Dr. Iman Black will come on the radio. But tonight she hear Osagboro, who are feeling for Iman Black, who has been here more than once. So send in the text them, can give her more strength, more Iowa. I go forward same way for sitting for these hours. I want to tell them said, oh, them a fly so quick. That me I look for the clock and I say, but wait, it come like me just sit down here so and the time almost a fly out. But we give thanks to the strength. And we know so the ones them are listen. And we know so the drum sound are gonna play. And one day we're gonna bring with a repeater when we have a whole like a transport, because sometimes we can't struggle with the transport because the man them never want to accommodate the drum in some way. So we're talking about language, we spoke about the power of language, we spoke about how Mali became an important force in the face of the earth, and how Mali literally rose out of the desert. Much the same way that Egypt rose out of the desert, Mali rose out of a place where, it was very hard to live, but because of the ingenuity of the black people at the time who carved out their existence out of that place, it attracted people. And we will call the name of the people them who helped to form the Mali civilization: the Sahara, the Berber, the Batawa, the Fulani, the Songha, the Masufa, and the Tuareg. It's some of the Tuareg rebels right now in Mali who are staging a rebellion against the government. But apart from the Tuareg rebels now, there are some other people who are also getting involved in the scenario and who are then destroying now the mosque, and not only the mosque, but the very important scripts and records that have been sitting for thousands of years and are part of the UN World Heritage Site. These things are part of the UN World Heritage Site. And we talk about the myths of the so-called inferiority of the black man. Where did this come from? Where did this notion that the black man was inferior come from? People say it come from the idea first that Shem, Ham, and Japheth were three brothers, and Ham was the black one, and he should be hewers of wood and drawers of water in the tents of Shem. At the far, it come from. But wherever it come from, it's time for us as black people now to put that to rest. And as I said, and I want everybody to observe it, if Christophe Lemaitre from France made the 100 meters, he probably are going to be the only white man in the race. Because if things go to form, you're going to have 3 Jamaicans in the race: Blake, Bolt, and Asafa. You're going to have 2 Americans now, Gatlin and Gay. And if Walter Dix run well, he's going to end it. So I 3 more than 6 black men. Then you're going to have Daniel Bailey from Antigua, or Richard Thomas from Trinidad, or Dwayne Chambers from the UK, all black men. So there goes the myth now of the physical inferiority of the black man. What about his mind? Look at Jamaica has given the world reggae music. Music is not just purely jumping up on stage and prancing. Look at the lyrics that we have written. Look at the way people have used the words. Look at all the signs that came out of Egypt. How can they be perpetuating the myth about the inferiority of the black man? But black man out there who are rob, stop the robbing. Stop being a coloring book. You don't have to be that. It is not what you are deep on the inside. It is what that you do that counts. So you see when a man has enough things, and when you look, you see my rob. I love myself, I'm a black man, I love myself, oh. And the next thing you see him rub and boast and say I'm a coloring book. It's not what you are deep inside. It's what you do that counts. Give them some sounds, sir. Make them feel good.
This your system, crucial. In your this your rhythm, crucial. I'm out on the rock now, with no clothes on my back, yo. No shoes on my feet now, I've got nothing to eat. Not even little flour. A crucial. To mix little dumpling. A crucial. Said no rice. A crucial. To not little Sunday rice and peas. A crucial. Crucial. Good gosh, it's crucial. Whoa, it's crucial.
Yeah, crucial. Crucial, my brother Bunny. We'd also look at the difference between civilization and culture. And the preponderance of the idea that, you know, culture is very, very important. But people have trumpeted that culture is so important that it has caused a lot of division now because ethnic groups have surfaced and are trying to fight for dominance now in the cultural space. So which is more important? Is culture more important? Or in the 21st century, when it is evident that they can't escape the building of states now, what is more important? Why are the revolutions that are called, what do they call them? The Arab Spring. Why do you believe they're fighting for? They're not fighting for any dominance of any one cultural group over the other anymore, because that has resulted in a them oppression. This Mr. Man from this tribe, I rule the country for so much years, and him oppress the people for 40 years, and then a man oppress people for 30 years because him, and so ethnicity, you have to be very serious. It's a very delicate issue, you know, because we in Jamaica now, because we live in this nation that has been transported, 90% of the people, we don't have that strong bond to an ethnic group like other countries that have not been transported. So while we sit outside and look at the ethnic groups and say things, but at the same time we have to look and say, which is more important? Is building institutions more important? Is getting people to have access to simple things like proper health care, proper education, the freedom of speech, regardless of their ethnicity and their religion, you know? Because, for example, in Egypt right now, the Muslim Brotherhood is facing some problem because they are seen as people who probably will become fundamentalists. And the people who fought for their freedom are saying, wow, well, we never really want any more religious rule over us. So you see, the state is evolving past those parameters so that even if all the ethnic groups now have to come together one day and sit down to find a way to come to a consensus about their functioning in building their civilization. What is the importance of race, culture, ethnicity in building a civilization? Because when they say civilization, we don't mean like a world civilization, you know, that. Because as we say in history, you see, you have the Aztec civilization, the Maya civilization, the Inca civilization, the Egyptian civilization, and you could go on and on, many different civilizations. We can have a Jamaican civilization, but we have to work hard at building it. We're not too small, but we have to work hard at building it. Because right now, as I say, the man implicates himself, say 40 years him in politics, and all him can say we achieve is tourism, sport, music. But the fourth one is, the ones in the text, I don't tell you I wish I the fourth one yet. Tourism, sport, music, and one. Nobody know. And I help out, no man, people in a styles land until I wish I the fourth one. But we want to go into the segment now, you know, Rasta in the diaspora, in the Jamaican diaspora. What a voice, man. Peter Touch. Voice sweet. Rasta in the diaspora. And the ones them out, they say that word there, diaspora. It comes out of Greek, out of Jewish social anthropology. The Jewish man was trying to find a term to define the people who are dispersed, that are Jews. And the term they use is diaspora. So a lot of other people now have begun to assimilate this term because, again, you know, that's how culture works. You have something named acculturation, and you have assimilation, you have diffusion. When things are diffused and assimilated and transmitted, they can be interchangeable. Assimilation, transmission, diffusion, acculturation. So people know, black people now have assimilated and have taken on the word diaspora. In the first place to mean Africans who have been scattered outside of Africa. But we want to look at the Rasta diaspora because Rasta really, if we want to be technical, is Yasser Rasta rise up as a philosophy that given to the world. And we want to talk about, in a small way, about the Rastafari brethren now, who is in England, the UK diaspora. And the UK comes into focus because Jamaica celebrating its 50th anniversary as a nation who did. When we talk about them things, you know, we guarded, you know, we get to independence from England. You know, you get to independence. It's like the European free about 4 times, you know. Me, I remember Black always talk about that, you know. 1807, them say them go on with a freedom. Then 1834, them go on with the next freedom. Then 1838 is the next freedom. And then 1944 is the right for vote. And then 1962 is the next freedom. So what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look how much time them freeway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so we are celebrating 50 years now. And them still around. 1, 2, 3. One of 50 years. It should have come from 1807. Then it shouldn't be 1950. It should have come from 1807 that we are celebrating. So in the 50 years now, we are celebrating 2 things. The one that happened in 1838 as Emancipation Day. And we don't really celebrate Emancipation Day as how much years. We don't count up that. How much years that now? 100 and enough that, you know, we should have count that up. 8 from 12 leave 4. So we should have count up that too. 170 odd years. We should have count up that too and say, this is the 174th year of emancipation. But we are talking about this little thing now, this little cosmetic thing now named independence. What we get from some man who the transplant way. And who from long time did want to get rid of it. And in the 1930s now, the brethren them looking at Ethiopia and find a redemption. A prince named Rastafari was crowned. And out of that now, a man named Howell conceived and coined and developed an ideology. I remember earlier in the day we talked about ideology, you know. Developed an ideology what become as Rastafari in Jamaica in the 1930s. And it got through enough changes and have enough profits. But then it find it way all over the world. I want the other one there, Edward the the 4th one that Rasta. We know say that we know say that one they that talk about, you know. But that's something we give to the world. And in the UK, there's a strong Rastafari community in the UK. Why the UK? Why not the US? Because in the UK, in the 50s, when the Windrush landed in the UK with workers, we forgot try. Enough Jamaican people know that history about them not talk about it, you know. You'd have a ship named the USS Windrush. We carry Jamaicans go England in the 50s. We help repair England after them. They said mash up after the war, you know. The Germans they do the place bad and they take years. Then we want conductors now and railmen and nurses, but conductors first. Enough Jamaicans now end up living in England. But it's a strange place, England, because where's the authorities sent for the people to go live there? The so-called common people, guarded common people, they don't like call people common. The common people will live there, never want the black people. inside there if you come living in them country and then the worst thing go happen. Yeah, the worst thing go happen people in a Styles land. The black man them no go start married to the white woman them. And that was an affront to the people them. So it became a very tense life to live in England in them time there. And then the second generation Jamaicans who were born in them time, embrace Rastafari as a way of self-expression, as a way of fighting against battering down the sentence and trying to fight against it. So in England now you have second generation Rastafarians who have never been to Jamaica, but who listen to the music, listen to brethren who relocate and go live there. And so the Rastafari community in the diaspora in England is a huge community and adds a lot to the ethic of organization. We want to learn to organize more, to get more out of that large community of brethren who exist all over the world and come work together to cement all kind of things. And out of the Rastafari community in England now, because I go up there and meet some brethren and there's a different ethic. Enough of them drummers and businessmen more than anything else. And so we want to give thanks and praise to them brethren who hold the faith and who keep them head up and who carry the mantle of Rastafari. And we want the ones them, where the Rastaman them in a Portland. Them out there listen, Rastland, and all of them people that who out there. And for him perpetuate and keep Rastafari philosophy in that cold, grey place. Especially in this time now when we still a battle to be free from 1807, 1834, 1838, 1944 when they have universal adult suffrage. Hey, black people, you didn't know so one of the time when them say one man, one vote, that it mean? Woman couldn't vote. One man, one vote. When them say one man, one vote, they mean one person, one vote, And 1944, they mean one person, one vote. Because before that, to vote, you'd have to own land. You didn't know that, people? Before, in Jamaica one time, to vote, you had to own land. So you know, so enough people did get the word that them use a disenfranchised. Enough people never have the right to vote because they never own. And not only that, you have to earn a certain amount of land too before you vote. So a lot of Rasta people now, when them parents did leave Jamaica because of all of them little things there, we're going to try and find a different way. But you know, they make backtrack. The people them who left Jamaica to go to London thought they were British, because we were subjects of the Queen, So a lot of them had a very nice British accent, and they went to England thinking that they'd be treated correctly, only to find that the white man never wanted them really. So here were they thinking they were British men, only to go to find and say that you're not British men really. You're wogs. They call them wogs, And so they were treated very bad. I had an aunt who have children and a youth them become Rastafari. And she was most upset. But the youth them had a way. It was the only thing that gave them redemption and gave them the will to fight and struggle against them oppressive system, my brother. So give them some sound now. Let them circle down little. In a Styles land, 453 1444.
Man. Such a mystic man. I'm just a mystic man. Mystic man. I'm undone. I don't drink no champagne. Don't drink no champagne. No, I don't. And I'm undone. Take a morphine. Don't take no morphine. Dangerous. I'm undone. the past, and I'm living in the present, and I'm walking in the future, stepping in the future, man of the past, and I'm living in the present, and I'm walking, and I'm just a mystic man.
Such a mystic man.
Got to be a mystic man.
Mystic man.
I'm Mando.
Yeah, my brother. Peter Stepping Razor Macintosh. Powerful man that. And as I talk about Rastafari in the diaspora, I realize that there are many people over the earth who have learned many things from the Rastafari philosophy, especially the idea of just being proud of one's blackness and being liberators, really just champions like Peter Touch, a mystic man, and not giving up at all for anything. I remember one night meeting Peter Touch. I go play a football match and I go home and they're York Pharmacy, all the Kingston people them who live in Portland and St. Mary and St. Thomas and who they over the world must know York Pharmacy. And I bum a ride for go Spanish Town, you know. And a car look super up on Ford Escort, very high off of the ground. When we go in there, pure herb smoke, Peter Touch with a big spliff for bonnet. And them stop him on the highway and my burn him spliff. And me a trim out of my weight scar. Me wonder, me go tell my old lady say me get catch in a car with a man a smoke spliff and thing. And when the policeman come on the car, the man say, "Oh, Mr. Tosh, it's you." And him say, "Yes, officer. You all right?" And the policeman say, "Okay, it's fine." I say, "Oh, yeah. I'm a mystic man." And him drive God, I'm in the center of the car, man, I say, "Boy, I tell you, that brother here is something else." But that's the militancy. Epitomizes the militancy of even just Rastafari and black people in general to be fighting against so much odds and to be told that we are inferior, yet fighting against so much oppression and battering down sentence, as Bonwela says. So we want to encourage everyone who out there. And I forgot to make a special little talk to Jamaica. I celebrate 50 years, but we have to think much, much more. I'm going back to what I was saying earlier about building a state. I don't think our leaders understand what it means to build a state. I don't think they know what they want. I think they know they want to be in power, but I don't know why they want, if they know why they want to be in power. I doubt if they know why they want to be in power. But I think they want to be in power for party allegiance, and that's a sad thing. So as a Rastafari, I know we have to talk about these things and criticize them all the time. Because I don't know, but me not still register for vote yet. So if push comes to shove, me can't even vote. Because I don't know which one of them man I would have voted for. Really and truly. Because we just recycle the same crap over and over all the while. The same little man them all the time over and over. So the brethren them now in England. Any man in England I hear this? Oh, the man in England I hear this. Or the man in America. Yeah, man from New York and Rastland up on the place. From Jamaica, Portland, Jamaica, StyleFM.net, 96.1.com, 96.1 on your band. We give thanks for the opportunity to be here right now in this time. And you know what? Me never know, so the time will fly so quick. Every time I do it, me still amazed still. But we have so much to share with the ones. And we know, say, every time we share with people and we get some vibes, we're really glad. So we have to go forward to all of the things. Go forward to Mali again. And even the notion of constructing a nation out of different groups of people. Somebody was writing in the newspaper the other day, said we need to pick up the Chinese and the Indians who came here. And yeah, we have to do that too. And I hear a man make an interesting thing this morning. Him say, I come in on the bus and him say, black people never come out with nothing. So how we get, but nobody now giving a chance. Where you see the Chinese man them? When them come with them money. So them can start up them little business and so. You see, it's important. So while we're going to look at the contribution of these people and big them up, the government in building a state in building a nation, have to start thinking about how to engender people, how to bring them up in such a way that them feel that them have a chance. Because the man say, black people don't have no chance on you. And if that is the perception people have of the state, of the government, it means that the government is failing miserably in trying to get rid of the idea out of people's mind that them not care about them, you know. And I introduced some books today them. I want to call the name of the book them again, so they can go make some research, especially about Mali. Maybe the next time we come, we're going to bring some more ideas now and bring you up to date with how Mali, what has become of Mali today. You know, because Mali just somehow sunk away until recently we hear about it again. The book is called Timbuktu and the Songhai Empire. And I always try to call this name Al-Sadri and Tahri al-Sudan. That's the writer of the book. And it was written in Arabic first, but then it was translated now by a man called John Hunwick in 1998. Now, in the age of books, that's not a very old book. And you have a journal on Sudanic Africa. You can also look in that to find out about that, that wonderful place that is just, I hope them don't destroy everything that is there. And there's another book now called The Early Sociology of Race and Ethnicity by a man called Kenneth Thompson. You must read that book too. You must make sure you go there and buy that book so you can have a read about that, right? And educate yourself and not only entertain yourself. So those are some of the ideas. So we need to hear some more sound, you know, because we have to talk about the mystic nature of the stepping razor and the walking razor. Don't get weary, Natty. Hold on, you see it? It is not what you are deep down inside. It is what you do that counts. It is not what you are deep down inside. It is what you do that counts. That is the thought that the one them should just have in them head all day, you know. And I encounter all kind of little things, and we use the word mantra to really describe them, and the one them to make that be their mantra for every day. It is not what you are deep inside. It's what you do that counts. Because as I tell enough ones, you know, if you conceive of something in your head, if you don't work on it, it still don't exist. Every thought that you have remains just that if you don't work on it. Because no one never know. You're going to start thinking to yourself. You're going to say it to a man, you know, and it not come out tight. Or you're going to just take it and just run with it. And then you're going to say, but I made it think about that. But what kind of right you have to it? You don't have no right to it. So we talk about thought, language, philosophy, and ideology. And in this last section now, we want to readdress the brethren them now in the diaspora, the Rastafari brethren them in the UK diaspora. When we say the UK now, we don't mean England alone, you know. But it seems as though it's England alone, the man them based in more than anything else. Because these days UK is actually Scotland, Wales, and England. Because as the Olympics show you, when the man them say UK or Great Britain, they, you know, the other day they were upset because them say Great Britain and they actually said England. The Englishman them make a mess of the Olympics so far today. The man them have the Korean, the North Korea and South Korea have some serious issues against each other. And the man them make the South Korean, the North Korean football team stand up and have the South Korean flag beside the North Korean. They know the North Korea vexed bad. And they make all kind of mistakes. Them call the British team English and all kind of things. So brethren and the Rasta man them in England, well, you better stand up on the foot, you know, because Margaret Thatcher did pass some head tax one day if you say people not living at them place there. But we are going down in the last couple of minutes, and I want to give thanks again for this opportunity to sit here and in my brethren's space with him sit down beside me in the spirit and give thanks to my brethren Jacko who there for me same way, and give thanks to the people them in Portland and St. Mary and St. Thomas who listening to I and I. And every Friday, you know, so this will go on and more edutainment. Sending the text messages them same way, because we're still there, you know. Because the earthquake can't last for 5 minutes. If an earthquake lasts for 5 minutes, that's serious destruction that. So we're still there. If the one of them have some text, them can still send them in, you know, and still say, what have I learned today? That's the question I ask. What have I learned? What have we learned about Mali? What have we learned about I-word sound when we spoke about language and thought and ideology? What have we learned about deconstructing the mythology, about the inferiority of the perceived inferiority of the black man in relation to white man? We can't get them 30 seconds or anything. St. Catherine. Hey, St. Catherine, a brethren from St. Catherine, sitting from St. Catherine. What? That is nice. We love the vibes. Heal up and big up. All right. We love that. We love that. Give thanks to St. Catherine people. And that's how we live, you know. Over there, so still. We live all over earth. Yes. Yeah. Stay away to meet the rising sun. God Jaja give us enough life to live. Wailing soul. So as we said before, we give thanks to all the ones who are listening. Now we hear St. Catherine on board. What a wonderful thing. And I'm on Black here that my brother, St. Catherine, that link us. Links the brethren from St. Catherine who link with. And the people in Portland, as always, we know so the trang out there on the corner, sit down and listen. Man them from St. Thomas, Joy, from in New York, who call me, and say, me come from Portland, you know. And Florida people them, and all the people them all over in the earth who tune in on Styles 96.1, gmail.com, 96.72 as well. St. Mary. All right. So give thanks for the time that we spent. We hope to do this again. When I'm on Black come the 2 away inside again the next time. But you know it already? Rastafari live and protect. In the Mina Meshu. In the Men Wallo.
96.1.